The presses have, usually there's a set of 3 blankets, and for these presses, the blankets are stored in this box, which lives here, and the big set is on top. We want to make sure our hands are really clean whenever we're touching the blankets. You can see that some of your previous classmates did not have clean hands, and we don't want to do what they did. And some of these are quite smudgy. So they live here. The 2 sets in here are pretty similar in size, but this one is slightly narrower and this one is slightly wider. And each set of blankets has 3 blankets. There's the sizing catcher, so that's the catcher, which is the one that goes, it's usually the thinnest one, and it goes against the press bed. The reason it's called the sizing catcher is that normally, or like you'll see for some of our other processes, you soak the paper beforehand, which softens up the sizing that holds the paper together. It's basically a glue, and this kind of catches that glue, and the glue from that paper kind of goes against this, and then you can wash it and it's fine. You don't see it, but it just like over time absorbs in there. The middle blanket is called a cushion. It is what it says. It's usually thicker. It's usually a little less, I don't know, it's more pillowy. It's thicker and it's a cushion to kind of push the paper into, it's all about transfer, right? So as the plate with paper rolls through this press, the roller squishes the blankets against the paper, against the plate, against the bed, and there's a transfer of ink from your plate to your paper. And then the top blanket is called a pusher. And it pushes, it helps push, it catches with the roller and helps push it through. You do not need to know all the names of the blankets, but that's what they are. So what you want to do to start is, well, actually even before the blankets, the way that you want to set the pressure with the press are by turning these 2 dials. You want the 2 dials to always be doing the same thing. They do have numbers. You can see both vertically, and most of the presses, I think all of them, have a number, like a vertical number system. And so you can see how close, you know, how many lines that are exposed here vertically, and then where it's lining up with the dials. Right now, and we're going to change this very soon, right now these numbers aren't exactly calibrated with one another. And so to start, before you get started, and again, this will change soon, because once they're calibrated, you can just say like, oh, well, the 40 is lined up with line 2, and that 40 is lined up with line 2 on the other side, so I know that they're exactly the same. You want to have even pressure across this whole roller, and so that's why you want to do everything the same on both sides. But to just make sure, because these aren't quite calibrated, to start with, you just want to crank the whole thing down until it's touching. Doesn't need to be like, you know, super tight, but here I just turned this and it's not going to move anymore. You know, it's down as far as it's going to go, and you can see that, but because there's no space between the beds, I mean the bed and the roller. And now, and you can see they're close. They're very close to lined up all the way, but they're not. So this one, when it's on the line, is at 20, and this one's at 30. So now, obviously nothing's gonna roll through here because there's no space. So I'm just gonna turn, and I'm gonna keep my hand on this one side. I'm gonna try, and I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3, and I'll put that, I'll put it so that it's exactly parallel this way, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna loosen it, 1, 2, 3. 3. And then I'll start to see, for the size plates that we're printing, that's probably still going to be way too much pressure. So I'm going to loosen it again. 1, 2. And again, you just do it until it's where you need it to be. 1, 2. Does that make sense?
How can you tell, how do you tell how much pressure it needs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I'm going to answer that question by grabbing the plate that I put over here. So we're going to pretend I have my plate here. And actually, I would recommend doing this before you ink up the plate, you know, because you can use your plate or even a blank plate to test the pressure before inking, and it'll just be a lot easier. And once it's set, we're all working with the same size plates. So once it's set for the day, you'll know. Okay, so this is my registration sheet. I'm putting my plate in the middle of it. You don't necessarily need to register it for testing the pressure, but you know, each little bit of paper does add something, right? So this will be like closer to consistent with like how it will be, the amount of thickness it'll be when you're printing. And we're just gonna pretend that this is your sheet of paper, which it's not. I guess while everyone's here, so I don't have to gather everyone again, the whole idea of the registration system is that now the sheet that you're printing with is the same size as the sheet that that template is on. And what I want everyone to do is once you have your plate lined up in the middle, then, again, we're pretending here because nothing's the same size, you'll just line the edges of the sheet that you're printing on up with the edges of your registration template, right? And so then, in Princess, this will make a lot more sense to you in like 10 minutes. So for now, for this purpose, I'm going to line it up with this corner because I did a different type of registration system here. And if I were printing, I would put another sheet of newsprint on top of this. Again, to just always think about protecting the blankets. You can see somebody just printed their plate on the blanket, not ideal. So I'm going to slowly roll this down, and then I'm going to roll the press. Now, oops, wrong way. You always want to roll it towards you. So I'm just pulling this hand over hand. Can somebody give that bed just a little push to get it started? There you go. Other things to pay attention to, and I noticed this especially with some of the little presses over there, sometimes you have an overhang of blankets. Here it's not that much, but you do want to just be really careful that it's not getting caught. And don't put your fingers where I just put my fingers, never do that. It's not getting caught. I think I don't have enough pressure, but I'm gonna wait and see because I don't think I've made it to my plate yet. Okay, I think I'm rolling over my plate right now. And so what you don't want is to get to where the plate is and feel this. Then it's way too much pressure. Just back it off, loosen it up, way too much pressure. Here I can't feel it at all. And that's probably too little pressure, but we don't want to feel it too much. These presses are strong, so your strength combined with its strength means, especially for relief printing, it doesn't need that much. If you guys saw the hand printing video, you saw how much pressure it took from me to print it, which was like not that much. So this doesn't need a ton. Okay, so I'm going to tighten it one turn. Tighten it one turn. Oh wait, that was where. Then, gonna go to the other side. Pull it back through. If you're printing without ink, you'll probably want it to emboss slightly, right? So that if, what do I mean by emboss?
Show the image to put into the paper.
Yeah, it'll raise the paper up. It'll put pressure on the paper. You'll be able to basically see the image in the paper, but without any ink. And so we're not quite there yet. I'm gonna tighten it down just a little bit more, and then I'll let you all get printing. So while I'm finessing this, what do we remember about printing? What do we need? What do we need to set up for printing? What's that?
Even pressure.
Even pressure, yeah, but I mean like in terms of the videos that you already watched.
A clean space.
Yeah, great.
Your tools.
What else? What did you say?
Your tools. I don't know.
Yeah, what tools? What?
A cutter.
Anyone?
Ink.
Ink. Definitely need ink. And we just kind of went over what you'll need for the ink. Here we go. Okay, so I actually didn't even feel that. Pass that around. And so I actually think it's too much pressure. And the reason I think it's too much pressure is you can see how the paper like got folded over and he's like creasing at the corners. That's too much pressure, but I still didn't feel it at all. This press is very strong. So I'm gonna back it off just a half turn on each side, and that should be about right.